This podcast is supported by Okidoki, the award-winning baby and kids online concept store aimed at bringing organic quality, sustainability, and style to your home. And Modibody Cyprus, which basically stocks life-changing underwear. Periods, incontinence, sweat, they've got you covered. Hello, I am Eleni and this is the Mamamu Podcast, a podcast that was first created for the women and mothers of Cyprus, but that seems to be enjoyed and listened to by people from all walks of life really, no matter gender or race. And I simply cannot tell you how happy that makes me. Today's episode is focused on one woman and her story about surviving the war zone in Syria. Lama Sawas was born and raised in Aleppo and was studying molecular biology and genetics when the conflict and protest against an oppressive government broke out. When she described the moment that made her realize that she had to leave her home country, which involves the description of what a bullet sounds like when it's passing by you, there wasn't really much I could say. These are the moments when you literally just shut up and listen. So, without further ado, here's the show. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Such a lovely place.
Thank you. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. Good.
Good. Everything
Running
good?
around to find you.
Yeah. The old town can be a bit confusing.
Yeah. It's like a maze.
It is a maze, but it's a magical maze.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So, Lama, we met at the Lean In group that you were part of. I think that was about 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
almost.
Yeah, not very long ago. And I just knew from the moment that I saw you and we spoke that I wanted you on the podcast. So thank you so much for coming.
I'm clapping in the background.
So tell me about the Lean In group. How did that happen? And what have you gained from that? Because it did seem like an amazing group of really incredible women.
Yeah. So I was in Women Fit for Business in 2019, and I got to know all the women in APFE and the organizer of Women Fit for Business. And from there, I kept that, circle close. And last year, Mahi contacted me, and she was interested to have me on this Lean In circle. And she was like telling me all about it. And I was like, oh, I've never heard of this, but it sounds like something I really want to be in, because it was the time when I'm starting my own therapy and just working on myself. And I found it to be like a group therapy for only women in a safe space, especially after the first few sessions, because at the beginning I just read about it, but the experience there after a few sessions, it was really amazing. I remember even when the earthquake happened recently, I didn't want to go because I was overwhelmed. But then I was like, you know what? It's a safe space. I can just go and sit down there and just be with these, empowering women. And it's kind of like a therapy.
Yeah. You don't have to pretend.
No,
you don't have to.
No, it's very safe. It just feels comfortable to be there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is. And I did say that the group it consists of different women from different walks of life, but somehow you all have similar stories in your challenges and your difficulties. Your challenges, though, and your difficulties come from a much raw reality. So, Lama, we hear often about the war in Syria. we're outside of this here in Cyprus. We're living in our own little bubble. And any information that we get is usually from mass media. Very rarely do we get to hear from people who have actually experienced war. So before we started, I did ask you what you feel comfortable with sharing and what you don't feel comfortable with sharing. So one of the questions that I had for you is, how would you say the war is being portrayed here in Cyprus or internationally? And what do you feel is not being portrayed and that definitely needs to be said? So I would like you to speak a bit from your personal experience.
Yeah. So the current depiction of the war in Syria is that it's finished. There's no war anymore because, there was some reconstruction by the government. And they claim that they cleaned up all these areas with the terrorists, which they are not terrorists. It's just people who demanded their freedom and people who wanted better future. They wanted better life. They wanted their rights just to be respected. So that's what the media says right now. That there's no kind of like war.
Okay, let's stay on that part as well, because I feel that maybe politically we need to talk about this as well. So these people who are basically freedom fighters are being portrayed as terrorists.
Yeah.
Okay. So could you explain from your personal point of view politically what's going on in Syria right now?
Suppression, like silent suppression of the people with the help of Russia, of course, backing up Bashar and his regime. It's been an exhausting almost now 11 years. So whoever wanted freedom like 8 years ago, they're exhausted. People lost their loved ones. People were displaced. People went around the world. My whole family is, we are all around Europe. And
yeah, I read that in one of the articles that was written.
So
your dad is still in Syria.
Yeah, my dad. Yeah.
Your brother is in Germany.
The other one in Spain. My mom and sister in Turkey, and I'm in Cyprus. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So growing up, I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 29.
29. So this started when you were about 18?
Yeah.
18 years old.
Yeah.
Were you aware of what was happening when you were actually in it? I mean, what were the stories that were going on around?
So I lived in Syria and I always knew that there is something wrong. Like we were just suppressed, like in the society, from the government, you're always like afraid to say anything. And, you just need to be careful and look around you before opening your mouth. And you can't like say anything against the government. The government is like giving you a favor to let you live there. Okay. That's the attitude.
Yeah.
So I was in my last year of high school and like the revolution started and people were protesting and demanding freedom. And I was like so excited because I'm like, yeah, finally we're speaking up. Even though like I was almost 17, like not even 18 yet. Wow. And I understood like, this is what we should do. And I got like so excited about it. We were just watching it on TV. I come from Aleppo. So in Aleppo, the first 2 years, we were just quiet. There was nothing happening. Most of the protests were happening in other cities. So I was just excited. I'm like, I want this to happen, in Aleppo. So when I started university, the revolution in Aleppo started from the University of Aleppo, like inside the campus. The students were leading those protests.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we were the first people to get attacked, inside the campus. We were locked inside our, buildings and classes. It was crazy. So at that time, I was just, I wanted also to demand my freedom, my rights, I want this government to just fuck off and let us live, like decent life.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were protesting and we were just trying our best, but then every time we protest, we get attacked by the government's
Yeah.
dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very scary, but it was very like, this I don't know, adrenaline you get when you're, on the edge.
Yeah.
I remember one of the times I was protesting, they closed down the library where we can study at the university, and we were like, but this is ours. Like the army came and closed it down, and they were like, no school until like 2 weeks when you start the exams. It was like exam period, and we have like like 2-3 weeks to prepare. So everyone goes to the library and study there. And they close it down for us because they don't want people to gather, start protesting. So we were like, what the fuck? So we started protesting. Like I don't know, thousands of people gathered in like it's like a big roundabout near the gate of the campus. It's very big campus. All the university in Aleppo is connected with each other.
Okay.
And I remember one of the scariest moments, but very like exciting moments. I was on the first line of the protest, and the army, like just 2 meters between me and the army, and they threw like the tear gas on us. And I can't remember what happened. I just remember that it fell in front of me, and someone just grabbed my arm because I was choking, and I just found myself like miles away from that scene.
Someone
Like
had
that
taken
girl,
you.
yes, that girl grabbed my hand, took me somewhere safe, and she left. She's like an angel. She just vanished. I don't even remember her face. I don't know her.
Wow.
And it was like, I was just like in front of the army. Like, this is so courageous, but maybe someone would think courageous stupid. Like you're just committing kind of like.
I mean, listening to you, I get the sense, because obviously I've never had to do what you've had to do, but that basically you were looking at a picture which could be the future of your life, and you're thinking, there's no way back. Yeah. I have to push through.
Exactly. No way back. Like it was a horrible life in there. Like everything that is good belongs to the government and their, group around it. Everything, good resources, I don't know, businesses, people get scholarship, go like study abroad. Like it's just like they own the country. We're just like, we're the visitors who they give us like a favor to just sit there.
Okay, so when we say war zone, what images come to your mind when I say the words war zone?
Well, first, feels like horror. Destruction, lots of blood, dead people, that, I don't know. I just imagine family of 5, they just now family of 3 maybe, because they lost, loved ones. It's just, it's horror. Like I don't know how to describe the feeling. It's a mixed. It's mixed between lots of emotions. It's sad. And the thing is, when you're in a war zone, you don't realize it because you're being now traumatized.
I was going to say, so are you actually fully aware of what you're looking at? I mean, is there any way that your brain can literally grasp?
Not really. Like, to be honest, I'm working on this now after like 10 years. I'm working on my war traumas now. And it took me a long, long time to realize that, I have PTSD and then like many other like
actually
conditions.
all those things that you saw and witnessed were.
But when you're there and everybody's living in the same situation, you just you try to make your friend or family just comfort them by saying like, at least we didn't lose anyone from our family. At least we still have our, home to stay in, or, like these things where I'm like, the fuck, do we need to wait until we lose someone and then we can grieve now? It was crazy. Like we were just there, and we had to accept that reality.
What was the point for you that was just so extreme, or that hit you in like this reality hit you? Was there any specific point that made you say and think, I need to get the fuck out of here?
Yeah. So when I was in first year or second year, I can't really remember, with my studies, I used to do like private lessons for students, like elementary students. So I would go to their place and have the private lesson. So I was coming back from one of my lessons. It was Saturday, and it was like in the hoods. So when I arrived to the main road, I noticed something really like weird. Like the street, that main road was empty. There was no one. And then there was a tank on the corner of the street. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Okay.
And that tank was for the regime. And then after that, there was like the Mukhtari, like a little office in the field. And I saw people hiding behind it. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I was just like the only one walking in the street. And I felt like I'm walking in nowhere. Like there's literally no one.
People know, everyone knows what's going on here, and I'm the only one who doesn't.
So someone called me. They were like, run and hide. And I was like, what the fuck? So I ran and I was hiding with these people. And I'm like, what's happening? They're like, there's a sniper. I'm like, what? So that was the first day we had a sniper in our street. And then that was for many years after. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, what am I going to do? Just sit here and hide? Like, what I needed is just to cross the road and go inside our building. Mm. So I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I stood there with these people hiding for like 10 minutes. But then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk. Whatever happens, happens. Like, I was like, what am I going to do? Call my mom and tell her, like, Mom, there's a sniper. Come down and get shot. Like, what am I going to do? I didn't want to get her worried. Like, they didn't even know. Like, the sniper wasn't, shooting in our street, but they didn't know because it was just happening.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to run and see what's going to happen. It was like literally like out gambling on my life.
Yeah.
So I did run, and then I heard like a shot. Like, I can't realize that day, did that sniper really wanted to shoot me? Did that sniper shot me, but I got, I survived? I don't know. But I heard like, there's like this heat and like whistle of the bullet when it passes near your, your head or your ear. Like you can hear it. And I heard that, and I heard, that bullet went inside like a garden next to me, like the wall. And I just ran inside that building. The door was open, and I sat on the floor, and I was crying for like 15 minutes, shaking. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was like, I tried again. I tried again.
What do you mean you tried again?
I tried again to go out of that building and run to our building. I know.
I'm only laughing because you're laughing.
I know. I laugh in these situations.
Oh
I'm not very I can't control my feelings. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to try again. And then, I brushed off these like crying and tears. And I was like, I'm just going to run again. And I literally ran from that building, just crossing like a main road. And I was like, all I could hear is like bullets, 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 like I don't know if it was real. I don't know if it was just something in my head, but all I could hear is just bullets. And then I went inside our building, and I was like crying and shaking. I went upstairs, and my mom was like, what's happening? Someone touched you? Someone like did something to you? Like, my mom always go to that thinking. Like,
Well,
someone did
she's a
something to you.
mother.
Yeah.
You're her child, you know? Yeah.
So I'm like, no, nothing happened. But like, none of that. But I was explaining to her, and she literally didn't know what to do. Like, she was just like hugging me and sitting there, and like, we didn't know what to do. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. We have a sniper now in our street. And I remember after that, for 20 days, I didn't go to school. I couldn't step out of the house. I was so afraid. Because my room was on that street, like the balcony of my room was on the main street. So I was like, every night I would sleep and I'm like, I'm so afraid maybe bullets will, come in the room or something. Yeah, it was, I think that moment I realized how scary it is to live there. And
how not normal.
Yeah, I was like, for 20 days, didn't go to school, didn't talk to anyone. I was just crying in my room, and it was horrible experience. And we don't have support system in there. We don't have psychologists. We don't have therapists in there. This is for crazy people in Syria. That's what everyone thinks.
Well, we kind of had that mentality here as well. But I think it's safe to say that that's sort of like...
Yeah. No, it's much better.
Weaning off a bit. Definitely not to the extent that it is there. But did you feel that at any point that this was just going to finish and that everything was going to go back to normal?
No, not at all. I was just stuck in, this is my life now. I'm stuck. That stuck feeling. And me as like 18 or 19 years old, I couldn't do anything. First of all countries shut down like their visas or entrance for Syrians anyway from the beginning. Second, I don't have a job. I can't do it. I can't travel. I can't do anything. It's on my parents to decide when we should leave.
What were your parents thinking? Did you hear conversations between them? Did they include you in the conversations?
No, we'd not like really include everyone in the conversation.
Yeah.
It's like a parents' conversation. But anyway, it was, my mom is a very adventurous person. She's wild. And she knew that we needed to leave. My dad is very traditional. So he would want to stay,
Yeah.
and also like protects his properties and stuff. So,
yeah. Yeah.
So he was not keen to go anywhere. He was just, he would accept what's happening. My mom is like, no, we're not going to accept that. So yeah, it was my mom who
pushed for the change.
Yeah, and we left in 2014.
So what was the plan in 2014 when your mom and
my sister? Yeah, we left to Qatar. My mom has family there, and we stayed there. My mom found a job. She's a sport teacher.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and she supported us there.
How long did you stay in Qatar?
I stayed almost 1.5 years, but between that 1.5, I went back to Syria for finishing.
Oh, you did?
My study. Yeah, because I was almost in my 4th year. I had 1 year to finish. I was studying biotechnology engineering, so it's 5 years. So I wanted to go back. I was 1 year past in Qatar. I was not doing anything, not studying, and I'm so like, I'm a nerd. I need my study. I feed on it. I live on it.
It's also your way to escape.
Yeah.
As well. So you couldn't study in...
No, that's like really difficult.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have residency. I was on a visit visa and I renew it.
Okay.
Same for my mom, even though she was working, but that was the only option for us.
Okay.
They didn't give us any residency or anything.
All right.
Yeah, but I went there. It was again a horrible experience, 3 months or 4. And I decided, I'm not going back again. Never, ever, ever. The first time with the sniper, I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. The second time, it was bombshell in the area. And people just screaming and dying. And it's just bullets entering the house. And I was alone. It was because it was only me and my dad. And he was at work and he was coming back. And I was calling him, don't come back. We're going to the basement. there's bombshell on the building. So
So you said you went back
yeah,
and you were like, never again.
yeah.
Okay. So do you feel that second trip back was sort of like closure for you?
Yeah, definitely. Because I had like one semester to graduate, and I'm like, I'm not going back even for like one course. Never.
But had you not gone back, would you think that would still linger in your mind? What if I went back? I mean, did you feel that you needed to go back
Yeah.
one last time,
Yeah.
face reality?
Yes. I needed to go back for my study, not because I needed a closure if I need to stay or not. I needed to go back for my study because that was the only thing that makes me alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that happened, I'm like, it's not worth it to, to die in there.
Yeah.
When my mom went crazy. She was begging me not to leave, but I pushed her, like I couldn't.
It's just something that you felt that you needed to do.
She couldn't like, tell me just to stay and no, you're not going back. She couldn't because I was so insisting. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and you seem like the type of person that when someone says no to you, you're like, nah. So how did Cyprus come into the equation?
Oh, boy. So one of my friends was studying in the north, and we're just chatting, and it came up in the conversation with my mom, maybe I can go and continue my study there. Because let's face it, all the other countries closed the door in our faces. It was too expensive to go anywhere, like in Europe. It was too impossible to go anywhere outside Europe. And none of the Arabic countries were accepting us. I was in Qatar. I was on a visit visa. It was never going to happen that I get a residency there or like continue my study.
Yeah.
Even if I can't, it's so expensive. So expensive. Like more expensive than the US to study in the US or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So Cyprus was good. It was it's near. It was financially fit. And I had some friends here. So I came, I continued my study, and I graduated in 2017. And I was like, okay, let's do masters. I applied for a master's in my university in the north, but in scholarships and like a teacher assistant and all these things. I tried all the options.
Yeah.
None of them worked.
Why?
First is a language barrier, even though I studied in English. Second, I think they just like to keep their own people.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though I graduated top of my class with like high honor and blah, blah, blah. But it didn't matter. No. So anyway, I couldn't stay, there.
Yeah.
My dad was like, come back to Syria. You get to like to be I don't know, hired by the government or something. I'm like, no, thank you.
Wow.
Because that's the only job you can do. It's like you get
work
hired.
For them.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, no, thank you. I'm not going back to that shithole.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's no other option. Let's go to the south.
So what? Okay, so you came to the south. So what I'm getting from you is that literally your studies that was your escapism.
Yeah.
That was the way.
It's still.
And it still is.
If I don't do science, if I don't read, if I don't, just create something, I can't. It's what makes me wake up every day.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
So you haven't been back to Syria since 2017?
No, since 2014.
14, sorry.
Yeah, 17, I graduated from the north.
2014, so it's almost 10 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're not planning on going back?
No. I'm not taking my husband and my daughter, to a risky place. I would love to take them, show them where I grew up and, Syria. But I wouldn't do that until it's completely free of this, criminal regime, and it's, it's safe place to be.
Yeah. So you mentioned your daughter.
Yes.
You are a mama.
I am.
Almost 3 years now.
Almost, yes.
Obviously, she's young.
Yeah.
But have you, I mean, is she aware of some things? Is my first question. And the other question that I wanted to ask you is, are you prepared on what you're going to talk to her about your experience and growing up in Syria? Is that something that you've thought about?
Yeah, it's something I thought about and also talked about with my husband. Like we have different opinions. I have an opinion that I want to tell her what her mommy went through and how she survived, and how empowering I feel right now. My husband thinks that it's gonna damage her. So
Too traumatic.
yeah. So yeah, I think we will find a balance one day and just share those stories.
Well, I mean, it's not like, it's the absolutely most normal thing to do. I mean, you don't have a blueprint for this. How do I talk to my child about?
I mean, for normal topics, we try to
Exactly.
find like, tools and how to say these things to
the
our
language
kids.
that we need to use with them, be age appropriate and all that. So, I mean, I can't imagine the difficulty. But you mentioned the word empowered.
Yeah.
Do you really feel empowered? I mean, it's amazing that you do.
Yeah. I mean,
would you consider yourself a survivor?
yes.
You are.
Yeah.
That
I'm a
is
war
exactly
survivor,
what
yes.
you are.
Yeah.
I mean, do you acknowledge that?
Yeah, I do. Not like just recently. This feeling like for many years it was just like guilt and shame and lots of other ugly feelings. But recently, yes, I was like, I survived this. Like, I'm a badass, so I should be proud of this person.
Yeah, you fucking are.
Yeah.
If you're not a badass, then I don't know who is. But you spoke about, we said the word survivor and you said the word guilt. And in one of your articles that you wrote after the earthquake in February, you spoke about guilt.
Yeah.
What does that word mean to you? And why do you go through phases where you feel that?
Because I lived in a war zone and I lived outside a war zone. And I know how much, how big difference is that. Being in a war zone, just like, seeking the basic needs of a daily life, like, your water, washing your stuff, and having, 1 hour of electricity to charge your phone or something just to communicate with people. That's what people, like, worry about every day in there still after 10 years. For me here, that's the last thing I would think of on, daily.
On a daily basis,
Yeah.
on any given day.
Yeah. So, it's just like I acknowledge, I know the difference, and I know how hard it is to be there, and I know how awful it is to be like that's the norm, and it's just like it's not the norm, and it shouldn't be. But these people have no other option. Like when I was there, I was like really worried. Just how to charge my phone, I had to wash my clothes to wear them, like after a few days, and that was it. That was our, that was like the major thing we talk about to everyone around us.
Wow.
And now you're like, no, you have like other intellectual conversations and networking and all that, and I'm like, that's luxury.
Oh my God.
That's luxury there. And that's nothing. Like that's like step or like 100 when people living on like the bottom at 1.
Yeah. So you coming from one extreme and then being faced with the other extreme. I mean, you just said 100 and you were at 0 at some point. I mean, wow. Trying to live between that and not feel guilt is just how? Yeah,
I can't. I feel guilty. I feel guilty all the time, but I suppress that guilt. I mean, the first year was when I left and I was in Qatar. That was like the extreme guilt I was feeling because it was just fresh, I was like, I went out. It was still like, people are dying there. I mean, more than now, but still they're still dying now. And it was like, it's like the fresh war zone. And I'm like, I went out from there. I was in a safe place. And it just felt like, why I get to, have this and the other people don't.
Yeah.
It's like trying to understand, like, life is not fair. And when you get to that, conversation between you and yourself, I think you go crazy places, because it's like, it's too much to think like about the fairness of life, like why I can do this, why I'm allowed and other people can't. And imagine, I'm just talking about like basic things.
Yeah.
I still feel like, oh, there's other people also like can travel the world. Maybe I don't have that luxury. Like there's always,
different
like,
layers.
Different layers.
Yeah.
So it was huge guilt in the first year, and then after that, I decided not to watch news, because the news was feeding on that guilt. Like I was just seeing the torture, I was seeing those heartbreaking videos, I was seeing people dying, kids being left without parents, or like it's just like me crying myself every day to sleep, if I sleep, because I had a very depressive year in Qatar from that guilt. And also the fact that I wasn't able to study, I wasn't able to do anything. That was a big reason that I went back for the last time. And yeah, after I decided not to watch the news, it was less, but it always comes back.
Yeah, the realities are there for you. So what I'm getting from you is that therapy helped you a lot. Yeah?
Just recently, to be honest, I tried different therapists. It just always doesn't fit, or nothing, comes out. I've been with someone really great recently. And
so it is a tremendously helpful tool, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just now talking about these experiences with a professional who can, provide me tools and how to, go with this. And I mean, I acknowledge that these traumas will still be there forever. Like it's not gonna like go away or like, let's just close this chapter. That's it.
Exactly.
But my reactions to similar situations will be probably better. I'll have more emotional control over myself. Yeah. And I think it's worth a shot.
It is. Yeah. I definitely believe in it. So here in Cyprus, do you get asked where you come from? Do you think that the Cypriot people are educated on the matter of Syria?
So, where do you come from? I mean, for me, it's not a very important question. Like, I wouldn't ask someone at the beginning of a conversation that I just met, like, where you come from. I feel like it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. But Cypriots tend to ask
and
that.
It's
even when you're Cypriot.
Yeah.
Even when you're
which
Cypriot.
Which village you come from?
Who do you belong to? We say the Dinos Ise. Who do you belong to? Yeah. Literally. You will. They know you're Cypriot, and they will still ask you, where did you come from? Who do you belong to?
So for me, asking this question is just like, I need to gear myself up how to judge you.
Yeah, exactly.
But I realized also in Cyprus, it's kind of like a friendly way just to open a conversation. Even though I don't agree with it, I don't like it.
It's the mentality
But I accept it because just sometimes people ask it just to be friendly. And I accept that, they just want to be friendly with me. Okay, why not?
Okay.
And I do hear a lot of like, sorry about your country, like, anyway, I am surrounded by very educated, like family and friends and just circle. And they know what's happening in Syria. I have relatives that keeps asking here, like, what's happening and, is it still, as intense as before? Like, they always want to hear updates from me.
They want to get the updates from you.
Not the media.
Because they can't get them anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there is, also Cyprus being very close to Syria and like geographically, they know. It's not, you can't just not know.
Yeah.
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 So I mean, I've faced lots of racist people in Cyprus. I've faced lots of people who would tell me, "Hey, just go back to your country."
You have gotten that as well.
Yeah. And, especially like I studied in the north, and it upset some people that I studied in the north. And it's just a political long issue in Cyprus. And, it's just, I mean, everywhere there's racist people. In Syria, there's racist people. Everywhere there's racist people.
Yeah.
And it's on me to surround myself with them,
Yeah. And it's also, I feel, not on you to educate people.
No, it's not on me to educate them. But if they want to ask and they want updates from me, I'm more than happy to, share that.
Yeah.
But, I can't stand people who would just like live in denial, for example, of what's happening, or like tell me, but the regime is good, like, or Bashar is like, he's trying his best. I'm like, oh no, shut the fuck up. You didn't live there, so no opinion, thank you.
How would you describe Bashar?
A criminal? I mean, he's a psychopath.
I was going to say, do you feel that this person is mentally stable?
No, I don't think so. I mean, just pretending that nothing has happened. He didn't kill thousands of people and displaced millions of people. I mean, he lives in denial. He's a psychopath.
Yeah.
Or maybe he doesn't live in denial. He knows exactly what he's doing.
And he's drunk on power and money. That's what you tend to think of. And then you think of Putin as well.
His buddy.
You're like, someone please take these people and get them some help. Now.
Push them away.
Yeah. I mean...
I don't know how, but just get them away.
I'm trying to sound more humanitarian. Yeah, you could push them in the sea, but I'm just saying that if these people were among us regular people, you would say this person needs help. Yeah. This person is not mentally stable, let alone to do anything, let alone be a leader of a country.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't empathize with these people. Like, they're criminals. They've killed many people. I can't.
Yeah.
They hurt me. They hurt my family. They hurt my friends. They hurt lots of people. Like, we're still like, we're recovering.
I mean, like, I've got a number here. I don't know if it's right. There's 13 million displaced.
I mean, probably more.
Probably more. And over 15,000 children injured and killed.
Probably more. I don't trust these
numbers. I was going to say, because yesterday when I was looking at these statistics, I was like, do you know for a fact, I think it was on the UN website, but do you know for a fact?
No.
UN
rubbish. No.
You don't. You don't. You can never put the pain and the suffering into numbers and explain it.
No.
It just can't be done.
Especially if it's coming from the UN, no.
No.
Because they get their sources from the government.
Yeah.
They're untrustworthy.
Yeah. How does the word refugee make you feel?
So, to be honest, for many years, it made me feel ashamed. Like, I wouldn't share with people that I'm a refugee, or like, like, it was just something that I hide and I'm ashamed of. Recently, with trying to share my experience, just writing those articles. I'm not writing those articles really to like, tell the world, like, hear my story, like, I suffered. No, I'm just sharing and documenting for myself. And it's really a great way just to, get out those feelings. And
writing is cathartic.
Yeah. And it does make me feel empowered again. Going back to that word, like,
you've taken ownership of it.
Yeah. And I'm like, why am I hiding this fact? That's my life. That's part of me. And this is my circumstances, and this is where I were, and this is where I am today. And I can't be more proud of it now. So
yeah, you mentioned the article, which is the one that you wrote after the earthquake happened. So the earthquake,
Yeah.
what a thing.
Yeah, it was more, it hurt more than I expected. I don't know how to even express.
Why do you think that? Why do you think it hurt more than you expected? Was it because the one thing that I did notice, La Mama, was that there was sort of, and I'm not taking away from anyone's experience right now, you know, both countries suffered humongous loss, but there was this focus on Turkey, and especially from outside here in Cyprus, there was a focus because of the Cypriot kids who were in that hotel. But Syria was sort of like, it came sort of like second place in.
Like,
is that fair to say?
5 minutes, let's just talk about Syria.
Is that fair to say? You think that it did come sort of like in?
No, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. I mean, there were bigger number of losses in lives in Turkey, but still in Syria there's losses. Like you can't compare. Yeah, you can't compare.
But what you can compare is the humanitarian aid, I was going to say, to Turkey. And so, what was going on there? Was it like literally you couldn't get aid to Syria? Was that it? Because that was what we were hearing.
It's really complicated. First of all, Syria is a war zone, still a war zone. And the earthquake, when it happened, it was geographically, it was near the borders with Turkey, which is north of Syria. And that north of Syria is not under the government control.
Okay.
So I don't know who controls that area, but there's a lot of groups. But there are still people, civilians. Okay, let's not talk about who controls that area.
Yeah, there are people living there or trying to live there.
And they have at some points borders open between the north and Turkey.
Okay,
but under like specific circumstances or like really urgent cases or something. I'm not really I can't tell you about that because I don't have enough information.
Okay,
but the first few days we saw like a huge response from everyone and all countries want to help Turkey, but Syria's like, it's just neglected because we've been on a war for 10 years. People are just probably bored of hearing about Syria and the war. Okay, it's became normal to this area always loses life.
We've normalized the loss of life in that area,
so it's fine. Like couple of thousands of people dying, so what's the problem? The regime doesn't do anything, they just like sit there and wait. Or maybe just, I don't know, they don't think that they need to respond to these people or help them or provide anything.
So there was literally no help from the government?
Oh, no, completely no help, nothing. And then when the help started coming, the regime people were stealing.
I heard that.
Food. And selling it again. Yeah, selling it to those people in need. And I'm like, what the fuck? Wow. And the UN said they couldn't help the north because they needed permission to cross from the government-controlled area to the north. And I read somewhere, someone mentioned that in such cases, they can intervene without that permission or something. So I'm not very, I don't have all information about that, regulations.
But it wasn't as black and white as it was shown to us. We're sorry, we can't get through.
No. There was a way, but they were just like so like lazy to do it, and waiting to they want to like organize or coordinate with the regime, and I'm like, don't you like see that this regime has been killing these people for the last 10-12 years? Like they don't care. If you're going to just sit there, the UN people, and wait for the regime to help, they're never going to help. And they only helped after a week because of the pressure of the media and all the Syrian people and everybody internationally saying, like, what the fuck is happening in Syria? Like, why are you not helping there? What is the UN doing?
Yeah.
So, like...
Did help eventually get there? I mean, because I know that you were doing a lot of work
let me tell you about that help. I started a campaign because I saw there was nothing happening from Cyprus, and I had faith that I could send these things to one of my friends volunteers in Aleppo, and then they can distribute those aids between them.
Okay.
But when I tried to contact all the couriers here, no one ships to Syria. So I was like, oh fuck! Now I have loads of things sitting in my living room that I needed to get to Syria, but I can't. So I kept calling people on that day and trying my best, and I got to APO, and they were like, they said that they were doing some coordination with the Syrian embassy in Cyprus, and they will. There's like a shipment leaving from Limassol to Latakia. So I was like, okay, if that's the only way. I mean, I prefer 10% of these things to arrive to the people in need rather than nothing. So I was like, okay, how do I get these things to you? They said they will come and pick it up. And I kept collecting. I packaged everything and they came and picked it up.
Oh, they did?
Yes. But then
do you know where the stuff went?
It should go to Latakia. So that shipment, it was for Turkey and Syria.
Yeah.
But there's specific things going from Limassol to Latakia. And when I checked with them, they were like, oh, the ship hasn't left yet. Or like, there is a ship that left from Limassol to Latakia, but they didn't have enough space. I'm like, are you kidding me? These are like high priority. Like these are
there
like
wasn't
emergency.
Enough space.
That's what the Syrian embassy said. Forget about APO. They're probably trying their best.
My God.
It's the Syrian embassy. They're fucking lazy. And they were, someone I know said that, so I called the Syrian embassy and they said, like, yeah, we are collecting stuff. You can, drop them off in our building. But because I had loads of stuff, I asked the help of APO and they said, we will come and pick it up from your place. And they did. But then someone I know told me that they called the Syrian embassy and they were like, what aids? We're not collecting any aid. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh my God. Yeah. It's enough to drive you mad.
Yeah.
Whew.
Anyway, but let's just say that there were people who donated money at that time. And I sent that money to my friends, volunteers in Aleppo, and they got like loads of things. It was a good amount of money.
Okay.
And they benefited like 15 families.
Wow.
Every family is like 5.
So financial aid can get through.
Yes.
They can't
only
control
through
that.
People, only through people that you know.
Only through people that you know.
Yeah. If you trust those people, they like my friend was just like volunteers on their own.
Yeah.
They just volunteered together. They were like collecting money from people abroad and buying, essential things or giving money to people who needs, like there were people in the mosques, in the streets, in the gardens, just sitting there, there was no food, nothing. So they were helping.
So 1 month on and something from the earthquake, what's the situation right now in that area?
It's still the same. It's like people still need a lot of help. There's people lost their, their homes. Where are these people going to go? Like, for example, in Turkey, the government provided them places to stay and, just allowances to get them get by. And in Syria, it's like nothing happened. It's just like when they used to bomb one place and then the next day pretend like nothing happened.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, these people still need like mental help, financial help.
So much.
Yeah.
So much that still needs to be done.
Yeah.
So, Lama, right now, today, what is it, the 14th of March? 14th of March. It's a Tuesday. What is your day-to-day life like now in Cyprus? And I would like you, please, to talk about the little TikTok videos that you've been doing that are supposed to be on YouTube, but you haven't found time to do it. Obviously, you're a mum and a student. But, tell me a little about what are you doing now? How are you rebuilding your life?
So, being a mom and being freelancer and doing stuff that I like. So my day is full of my baby. She takes like 80% of my day.
Of course she does.
Yeah. But I'm also I'm freelancing. I do science communication. So I create content and strategies for biotech and life sciences companies.
Wow.
And I mostly work with the US, unfortunately, because there is no option in Cyprus. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I like it, though. I like it.
As long as you like it.
It's like, I would prefer maybe to work in here and, get to know more people in here. But it's like, nah.
Yeah, it might happen. Could still happen.
Let's see.
We'll see. Okay.
Yeah, I love what I'm doing. Really like exciting. All my work all day on the laptop. I love it. It just makes me feel alive. Mm-hmm. On the side, I started doing some science communication TikTok video. I started last summer. And not summer, maybe April. I think a year. It's been a year now.
And what was the aim with these videos?
Just like short videos for, general audience to learn about genetics and mostly genetics.
Okay, what a huge topic.
Yeah. So I love it. I am very detail oriented. The more detail I dive into, the more I get crazy.
Her eyes are literally glowing right now. Like there are sparks coming out of her eyes right now. You found something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Something that represents you, something that gives you joy.
Yeah.
How amazing is that?
It is.
Yeah, I know. I might start crying as well now. That you've climbed out of this fucking hellhole.
Yeah, I feel like I have a normal life now. It feels weird. It does feel weird. Like just a couple of days ago, I was thinking this is normal life. This is what normal life feels like. Having family, having your daughter, dropping her to school, come back to work, and
getting a coffee, coming to Eleni to do a podcast.
I mean, coffee, that's so luxury for me. That's how I treat myself every day. I get myself a coffee.
La maman, when we hear, when I say we, us from our little privileged position that we are, about when we hear stories like that, it puts things into perspective, and it kind of forces you in a good way to literally focus on the little things
exactly
that truly matter.
I realized this because I moved from survival mode in war zone to here the birds are singing, Cyprus is beautiful and it's safe, and people get so busy that they really forget about these little things. And sometimes when I focus about these things, and we have this even sometimes at home, because my husband doesn't have the experience I have. Mm-hmm. So sometimes he also forgets to focus on these little things. But for me, it's so much, so important, just, I don't know, having a walk together or just going to the park or hugging my daughter. For the first 2 years after my marriage, I was just getting so emotional and crying every time I lie down on the sofa, just hugging my husband or my daughter. Just that safe feeling that this sofa belongs to me. I'm not sitting in a camp or I'm not homeless. It's just really, really, you really forget how grateful you are and forget how blessed you are to have these things in your life.
Yeah. And thank you for making me cry.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, honestly, for being so brave and courageous and sharing your, I could say story, but this is literally your trauma, and you're sharing it, and thank you, and just keep being a badass.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, you're fucking amazing.
Thank you. I'm gonna cry after this.
Okay, all right. Bye. I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, feel blessed to have met you, Lama. Thank you for your bravery and courage, and for reminding us of the importance of gratitude for all that we have and all that we are able to do. Keep rocking, my friend. I will add links to Lama's blog and work so you can take the time to read her inspiring words. And she has also sent me 2 links for volunteering teams in Syria, so you can donate if you like. One is the Moham team and the other one is White Helmets. And as I said, you can find them in the show notes. I will also add my links to my social media so you can find me. Remember, you can contact me on Instagram and or Facebook, or email me at eleni@georgiesmummy.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Remember, be well and be kind. Bye.